Hello. Today I'm going to be doing a critical literary analysis on Othello. We're going to be looking at Act 1, Scene 1, lines 86 through 157. Iago. Zounds, sir, you've been robbed. For shame, put on your gown. Your head is burst. You have lost half your soul. Even now, very now, an old black ram is topping your white ewe. Arise, arise, awake the snoring citizens with the bell, or else the devil will make a grandshire out of you. Arise, I say. What, have you lost your wits? Most reverend senior, do you know my voice? Not I. What are you? My name is Rodrigo. The worse are welcome. I have charged thee not to hunt about my doors in honest plainness. Thou have heard me say my daughter's not for thee. And now, in madness, being full of supper and distempering straughts, upon malicious breviary, dost thou come to start my quiet? Sir, but thou must need to be sure my spirit and my place have them in power to make this bitter to thee. Patience, good sir. What tellst thou me of robbing? This is Venice. My house is not a grange. Most grave Brabantio, and simple and pure soul, I come to you. Zounds, sir, you are one of those that will not serve God if the devil bid you. Because we come to do you service, and you think we ruffians, you'll have your daughter covered with a Barbary horse. You'll have your nephews neigh to you, and you'll have coursers for cousins and jennets for Germans. What profound wretch art thou? I am one, sir, that comes to tell you your daughter and the Moor are now making the beast with two backs. Thou art a villain. You are a senator. This thou shalt answer. I know thee, Rodrigo. Sir, I will answer anything, but I beseech you, if it be your pleasure and most wise consent, as I partly find it is, that your fair daughter at this odd even and dull watch o'er the night, transported with no worser nor better guard, both a knave of common hire, a gonlegoyer, to the worst clamps of the lascivious Moor, if this be known to you and your allowance, we have done you bold and saucy wrongs. But if you do not know this, my manners tell me we have done you wrong rebuke. We have your wrong rebuke. Do not believe that, from the sense of all civility, I would thus play and trifle with your reverence. Your daughter, if you have not given her leave, I say again, hath made a gross revolt, tying her duty, beauty, wit, and fortunes in an extravagant and wheeling stranger of here and everywhere. Straight satisfy yourself. If she be in your chambers or your house, let loose on me the justice of the state for deluding you. Strike on the tinder, ho! Give me a taper, call on all my people. This incident is not unlike my dream. Belief of it oppresses me already. Lights, I say, lights! Exits. Farewell, I must leave you. It seems not meet nor wholesome to my place to be produced, as I say, if I stay I shall, against the Moor. For I do know the state, however may gall him with some check, cannot safely cast him, for he is embarked with such loud reason for the Cyprus wars, which even now stand in act, that for their souls another of his fathom they would have none, to leave their business, in which regard, though I do hate him as I do Helpanes. Yet, for the necessity of present life, I must show out a flag and sign of love, which is indeed but a sign, that you shall surely find him. Leave to the Sagittary that raised search, and there I will be with him. So, farewell. So here is the passage analysis. So we can see the contrast set between Othello and Desdemona. Othello set as the old black ram and Desdemona as the white ewe. This contrast between these two animal figures is obvious and unnatural, which points to the case that Iago and Brabantio do not the rest of their society do not think that Desdemona and Othello should be with each other. Iago also uses some vulgar terms, saying that it is the old black ram is topping your white ewe. This makes this intercourse seem more rapey and has much more savageness to it, which emphasizes Othello's African nature or African descent, which was a common misconception that these people had during this time. It also is a pun, because we can see that you, in this case, as it is spelled as a noun, that is a white lamb, but when it is said out loud, it sounds like you, which also kind of points to the fact that Desdemona is not the only one who is being quote-unquote raped by Othello. If Desdemona really is with Othello, then Brabantio's reputation is also being destroyed by their interactions. Next, we see that Iago says, "Awake the snoring citizens" with a bell, and this refers to when the enemy comes to lay siege upon a city. The watchman will alert the citizens with a bell, and this sets Othello up again as the enemy, in that he is invading, and it is very violent and unpleasant. And this is again emphasized when Iago refers to him as the devil in making a grandsire out of you. Back in those days, the devil was mostly depicted as a black man, and using this imagery, he connects this to Othello. And it's almost a threat when he says that he will make a grandsire out of you, which again seems to be the biggest concern is Brabantio's reputation. Next, we see that Brabantio sets up Venice as a place of law and a symbol of order. That robbing, something as barbaric as robbing, couldn't happen in a city like Venice. And again, that something as unnatural and contradictory as an interracial couple couldn't happen in Venice either, because that is a place of order in the law. He also talks about he also says his house is not a grange. Grange refers to a farmhouse, and that kind of connotation has it as a breeding ground, which is also again something very low class and dirty that could not be in Venice. Next, we get a bit of irony when Rodrigo says, "In simple and pure soul I come to you," because we know that Rodrigo does not come in anything but simple and pure. He has come to manipulate Brabantio and gain the attention of Desdemona. Iago also comes and uses some more racist terms when he talks about Othello. He uses the words Barbary and how his nephews will neigh to Brabantio, and how, of course, there's for cousin and genets for Germans. And these, again, all refer back to Othello's ancestry and the wildness and savageness that African people had this stereotype back in the society. This imagery again of animals and savageness comes again when Iago says they're making the beast with two backs, referring to a camel. Again, camels were very common in Africa. And so this again draws back to his heritage and where Othello comes from. Next, we can see that Brabantio labels Iago as a villain. This is important because this sets Iago up as the villain, reestablishes Iago as the villain in the audience mind. And it's also ironic because Brabantio is calling him a villain for something else than what he is being villainous for. As an audience, we know that Iago is a villain, but for very different reasons that Brabantio thinks he is a villain. And then Iago does not deny being a villain. He kind of prides himself in the fact, and he labels Brabantio as a senator, which he is, and again takes on this label as villain. Next, we see some more contrast against the fair daughter and the knave of common hire, Agon Ligoyer, and the gross collapse of the Lavacious Moor. Again, that these two entities cannot exist with each other because they're just so unlike, and they contrast each other so much. Again, more of this is highlighted in Desdemona's duty, beauty, wit, and fortunes. But here we also see how this again draws back to Brabantio's reputation, as Desdemona's fortunes in that last line comes from Brabantio, and so Brabantio is also name is also being darkened in their society by the relations between Desdemona and Othello. We also see that Brabantio says strike on the tinder. This means that he wants to light up the house to see if Desdemona is truly missing and with Othello. This can also be seen as two ways, one in the way I just described, and another in he wants to figure out the truth, which is a large theme in the rest of the book, or in the rest of the play. And then he also says, this accident is not unlike my dream. Belief it oppresses me already. And this conveys the horridness that the thought of them being together brings, and that makes this almost a common fear among parents, that their child would end up with someone as barbaric as Othello is portrayed to be. Next, we see that Iago says, I must leave you. And this is important because Iago remains unseen to everyone, to Brabantio and his scheming. So Iago is always the deceiver, and he is always painted in the dark, and that he must not be seen as against Othello. Next, we also see another hint at unnaturalness of Desdemona and Othello being together, when he says the Sagittary, which refers to an inn. But this also refers to the Sagittarius zodiac sign, which is represented by a centaur. A centaur is half human, half horse. And so this can be, this is a combination of two things that don't belong with each other, a civil and a wild entity that are unified, which is, again, the imagery that is being drawn between Othello and Desdemona. So that's the end of my commentary on Othello. Thank you for watching.